So we have just kind of two really off-the-wall questions here to wrap up. So I know the answer to this first one, but I don't think our listeners do, and I really want to know more about it. What inspired you to play football, and did they ever catch that gorilla that busted out of the zoo and punched you in the eye?
The search continues. So yeah, The Waterboy, oddly enough, that movie with Adam Sandler had a profound impact on my athletic career. As embarrassing as this is to retell, I mean, dude, I had no interest in playing football for a long time. And then more and more and more, the Pee Wee coaches, the Levittown Red Devils want you, you know what I mean? And my mom was like, "You're not playing football."
Football's
Long
the devil.
Island. Yeah, exactly. It was my life is the script of The Waterboy. Minus the alligators. There's not alligators in New York, but she goes, they're gonna, my mom, born and raised in Long Island. I don't think she left Long Island still to this day. She's like, they're gonna beat you up, Richard. They're gonna make your brain into mush. And I'm like, all right, Mom. So I played lacrosse growing up, but after a lot of convincing, I finally went to a football meeting when I was finishing up my seventh grade in middle school. And so eighth grade would have been, if it was going to be my first year playing football, if I, signed the paperwork and went out for the team. And I really wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. There was a lot of fear. My mom had really impressed upon me that I was going to get beat up. And so I don't know. I was like, I'll just think about it over the summer. And sure enough, on HBO that summer, The Waterboy was played. I must have watched it from, opening credits until it finished 30 different times. And that's how I fell in love with the game of football, and I haven't looked back.
Wow. So, Rich, I heard an interview with you probably a year, maybe a little more than you. Who knows during COVID, how long any time is.
Time doesn't exist.
But I heard you tell a story that brought a tear to my eye that didn't involve the Waterboy, about you at a doctor's office involving sweatpants.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Would you tell that story here?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. I'm an open book, my friend. So when I was playing with the Patriots, we had that lockout year leading into the 2011 season. So I had off-season surgery on my shoulder, and I was living in Boston. And it actually ended up working out great because I didn't have to commute from Boston down to Foxborough to get my shoulder rehab every day, because we weren't even allowed into the facilities while the owners were locking out the players. Like, we were locked out, hence the word. So they set me up though with the Red Sox trainers, and they had an office that was walking distance from my apartment in Boston. So I was like, this is excellent. So whatever it was, twice a week, 3 times a week, I would wake up and I would walk the 5 minutes it took to get over there. I think it was on Tremont, to get my rehab done on my shoulder. And so I'm wearing an arm sling, wake up one day and head over there. And I guess I should stop and say, I woke up a little late, so I was scrambling a little bit to get dressed and get going. I had an appointment that was getting started at 10 a.m. So I throw on my sweatpants real quick. I throw on, t-shirt over my arm sling and pop my arm through and then get going. So I'm heading over there and I get to the elevator, and I'll pause here to say the night before I had some questionable sushi at a gas station. I have since...
That's a mistake.
It's gotten us all.
I've since learned my lesson. I know there are certain food items I know now you do not get at a gas station. But I digress. The sweats that I was wearing, sans underwear, by the way, because I was rushing to get ready and get out the door, were these light gray, NFL issued sweats. And so on this elevator ride, they're playing some classic rock or something whatever it was, Rolling Stones, and there was a guitar solo coming, and I had a little gas, we'll say. You know what I mean? Maybe it was the sushi, maybe it was the fact that I hadn't had breakfast and it just started moving. I don't know. So out of like an abundance of confidence that this was going to end well, I kicked my leg up and just let rip what I thought was going to just be a well-timed, fart with the guitar solo. And what ended up happening is I striped the back of these pants and got way more than I bargained for. So now I'm in deep shit, guys.
Literally.
Literally, figuratively, like the elevator door is going to open. Like we're 2 floors away. And so I don't know what I'm going to do. So I freeze. I'm standing in the back of this elevator and the door's open. Nobody comes in. I certainly don't leave. The door's closed. And I'm just sitting there in this steel box of confusion and I don't know what to do. And so I just end up riding the elevator for a while, frankly, like, just panic stricken, in terror that I didn't know what do you do in this situation? I mean, I'll ask you, would you guys would you go to the office? Would you walk home with your poop pants? I mean, what do you do? I'm a grown man at this point. I'm like 26 years old.
I lay down on the floor of the elevator and I act like I passed out. Like, I don't know what happened, guys.
Dude, that's like high level algebra.
Just slide the backboard under. Don't flip me over.
Yeah, like when you're 27 and you crap yourself and you're in an arm sling. Yeah, you just pretend something awful's happened and you get taken away in an ambulance. Maybe I don't know. But I wasn't that smart, so I just rode this elevator for a while. I mean, people were getting in and getting off, and I'm just staying back in the corner. I'm like, all right, eventually somebody's going to go for their second ride on this elevator. I got to figure out what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to creep out this entire building. So I make up my mind. Actually, one of the times the elevator went all the way down to the garage, and I didn't even realize, but they had this like subterranean garage underneath this medical building. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just get off in the garage and I'll figure it out from there. And I mean, at this point, I'm sort of falling on the sword. Like, I realize I'm probably going to have to walk home with poop pants and just face the music or run. I don't know. But as I'm sort of walking around this garage, planning my exit, I walk past. I'll never forget this, and I feel terrible. And every time I tell this story on a show, if the woman who owned this car ever listens to this story, I apologize and I will pay you. But there was a Honda Civic with I'll never forget this car. It was white. There was like a little rust around the quarter panel, and in the back seat it had what looked like jeans. And so I'm like, oh my God, thank God! Like there was like sunlight breaking through somewhere, or like a bright fluorescent bulb. It was just sort of like they were shining in the backseat of this car. And I was like, I feel terrible doing this, but if anybody needs a fresh pair of pants right now, it's me. And so, dude, I kicked off these. I mean, before I even checked if the door handle was open, the sweatpants were off. The sandals were kicked under this poor woman's car, and I reach into the back seat. And the reason why I know it was a woman's car is because they weren't jeans; they were jeggings. They were a pair of like women that back then it was popular for like a hot minute. There were these leggings that were painted to look like jeans, and that's what these were. And so I cleaned up as best I could. I squeezed myself like a overstuffed sausage into these jeggings. I mean, they're tearing at the seams and stuff. And I get myself in, and I had to take off my shirt for the cleanup process. So this is my attire. Oh. I'm barefoot. I'm wearing women's leggings. I'm wearing an arm sling and nothing else.
You need feather earrings for this.
Oh my goodness.
The garage door opens and I make a run for it. And I don't know if you guys have ever I don't know if you guys have ever like really, really ran in a crowded public sidewalk. But when you start doing that, there are certain people who turn and run with you because they're worried.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know. They're worried about whatever you're running from. So they start running with. So like 3 people start running. I think they're chasing me. They think I'm being chased by something awful. And then they sort of tail off because, look, even though I'm 300 pounds and I got a bad shoulder, I'm still an athlete. So I'm pulling away from the crowd, and I make a hard turn, almost knocked over a mailman. And, I mean, as fast as my feet could carry me, I get back to my apartment. I mean, 5-minute walk. I got there in 60 seconds. I was churning and burning, baby. I get back to this apartment. I change, I shower. I mean, I'm out the door probably 5 minutes later. And I go back to the medical office, and I get up to the top floor, to the office floor again. And I walk in. I'm like, I am so sorry. I was like, I know I'm like 20 minutes late. I said, I really apologize. I said, it's been a hell of a morning. I'll save you the story. And she goes, oh, no. She's like, you're not late. She's like, you're 10 minutes early. Your appointment's not till 10:30. And gentlemen, that was the worst day of my life.
Oh,
Wow.
Rich.
Now, do you know what happened to your sweatpants? I mean, did you just leave them in the garage?
Yeah, I've never been in that garage since. So, I mean, that's between I don't know. I look again. I feel terrible for everybody who's also involved in this story in some way. You know, the woman who owns the car and the leggings, the guy who eventually, or woman who had to eventually pick up the sweatpants because everything about this is reprehensible. And so there's a lot of I've done better.
I think my favorite jump off of that would just be if somehow Bill Belichick got wind of this story and was like, Rich, were you running shirtless down Tremont Street, barefoot, wearing jeggings?
You want to hear something incredible? So because I have a knack for storytelling, and it came out during the rookie, every team, you have to do like rookie performances. Every year I was called up multiple times a year in New England to just share stories about my life with the team. And sure enough, that next season during training camp, the rookies were bombing and everybody was pissed off and everybody's salty because, we got, whatever it was, 14 two-a-day practices in a row. And Belichick called me up and he was like, you got a story for us? I'm like, boy, do I.